So today's session, we are looking at something that I did quite similar a couple of weeks ago. For those that have been on the Empower Hour webinars too, but with a bit of a different twist today with case studies also involved. With the topic being how to lead authentically through a strengths-based approach. It's about being you, being true to yourself, maybe looking left and right for ideas and to magpie and to share those ideas, but ultimately you being you is the best version of you. Some outcomes for the session today. I'll class this as a win if we are able to come away with these. What does a strengths-based leadership mean? What does it mean to you? How authenticity connects with our strengths. How do they align? What does that look like to you? We have 12 or 13 different people here today, and how that plays out for you will be very unique. You are one of 32 million. That is the statistics for just getting the same top 5 in the same order. So out of the same 1 to 34, you are one in, I believe, about 3 billion. So you really are unique. Reflection on your top 5. Let's bring it back to you. Understanding your team strengths, maybe some tools in there too, to maybe as you are looking at your team members where you lead, how can I start to understand them too? And I guess the last one will be the practical tools, the implementations, and action for you to take away too. A quick refresher, if I may. Let's start from bottom up. Clifton Strengths, it's not your capacity, it's not your skill sets. Those are things that can be learned. My background is education, but I was a teacher and leader for many years. And my first head teacher said to me on about my second or third day, you can teach the individual the skills, the curriculum, the knowledge, but the person you can't. And I think about that as strengths. It's you, it's your core, it's your natural way of thinking, feeling, and how you do. And as we think about with the leadership lens and with strengths, there's 4 domains. And on your top 34 report on page 21, it will give you where you lead in those 4 domains. It's how you lead more naturally. The process-oriented leader, the ones that get things done. They might love the goal setting and the to-do lists. You've got the impact-orientated leader, the influencers, the ones who may be the woos, the in command, those who may want to start before maybe thinking as much, the ones who like to be the activator. You've also got the glue of the team, as I call them, the ones that may all stick together, those relationship builders, the people-orientated leader. And lastly, the ones who can look ahead. If you put your arm on that desert island, you might climb the tree to see how far out that you can see, the different pathways, the thoughts-orientated leader. There is no ranking, so they've got all equal bearing in how they lead, but what's important is how you recognize it in how you lead and how you can more intentionally lead on what you do best. What is authentic leadership? A few things. Authenticity. It's knowing your values. What are your core values as an individual? Forget about the title leader, but what are your core values, your non-negotiables in how you govern yourself? It's knowing them and being able to articulate them. I'm going to come back to this one in a second. Not imitating others. In education, there's a phrase called magpieing, and you might look left and right for inspiration and ideas, and that's great. But as Natalie said, authentic leadership is what I naturally do, how I naturally think, feel, and do. That's authentic. Showing consistency to all of your team, to yourself. Last one, allowing others to do the same, in what Dave was also talking about too. It's also about knowing your team. Knowing, are they deliberative? Are they intellectual? What does that mean to you? Are you giving them maybe that time to think, to process? Or are you expecting them to turn up and to just contribute and be at their best? It's really understanding how they think too. And the key for me there is the second one down. It's that leading with alignment. It's being aligned in all that we do. That is natural, authentic leadership. But push come to shove, it's being true to yourself and honouring your strengths. I came across this video today, and I found it quite fascinating, where the day that I'm presenting on authentic leadership is the day that I hear this.
Or was a bit thin-skinned. I do talk about, as a kid who worried a lot, or was a bit thin-skinned and pretty empathetic, is there a place for you in politics? And I certainly, when I first came in, thought, I've chosen a really terrible career for all of these. If you have all of these character traits, actually, you feel quite suited to that environment. I remember coming out of the debating chamber one time and just feeling absolutely brutalised. A couple of people in the chamber had a real personal go at me, and I came out thinking, oh, I have got to harden up, otherwise this is just going to be a misery. And I asked the toughest guy I knew in our team, his name was Trevor, but that's when he said to me, don't toughen up, don't try and build thick skin, because if you do that, you'll lose your empathy. And I don't think I'd ever seen that perceived weakness as being attached to a strength. And yet it was. And so I just made the decision that actually I valued I valued that strength more than the weakness it gave me, and that I just needed to carry them both.
What do you take away from that, Jacinda? Empathy, she considered it to be a weakness. Now she considers it to be a strength. Do I have to share that as you think about your leadership? Is there things where you've thought, oh, that is such a negative? I wish that I could speak up and take command. I wish that this was in my top 5, that was in my top 10. But they do it effortlessly. They can just stand up and present. I find it so hard and so unnatural. But as we heard there, where one sees a weakness, the other people around you might just see the strength in what it brings. So again, it is coming down to honouring your strengths. Be true to yourself. So strengths and authenticity, how do they help us? It's your natural style. It gives you a common vocabulary across your teams to really also be able to articulate what it is about you. I'm not a fan of labelling people. In fact, I detest labelling people. But what I love about the labels in that top 34 is, one, they are bespoke in the paragraphs on your report. And secondly, they are umbrella statements. But it gives you that common language to really understand how my teammates naturally think, feel, and act. Build trust. Leaders who understand and know how to apply their team members' strengths and not only placing their colleagues into a place where they can flourish, but they are also building trust in that process too. You lead confidently. If you try being someone that you are not, it's only a matter of time before you start to feel a little bit uncomfortable. Command is in my bottom 5. I cannot own a room the way that some people can. I can't. But I'm okay with that. I know that if I were to just stand there in silence and raise my hand, people will eventually just engage and listen with me. I've got my strategies in those moments. Whereas people that I work with, they can walk into a room. I'm thinking of my colleague Jamie Warr. He can walk into a room and he just oozes that command. Well done, Jamie. Happy for you, but I'm really happy with my top 5 too. It's about leading confidently with what you have. And the last one is increasing engagements. Going back to Dave's first response before about knowing his team. One more video for you.
Today in Leading with Strengths, I am with one of the largest players in the healthcare industry, the chair and CEO of the Stryker Corporation. Kevin, it's great to be here with you today.
Thank you for having me.
Kevin, as we're diving into strengths, can you talk a little bit about how you first learned about strengths and kind of what your strengths journey was?
Well, when I joined Stryker 12 years ago, I realized that strengths was pervasive across the company. It had been in the culture for 20, 30 years. And I wanted to take the Strength Finders test right away. I was already familiar with Q12 because I'd used that engagement survey at a previous company, but I'd never done strengths training before in my life. And it was fantastic. I learned about my own strengths myself. I'd done a lot of other things in the past around self-analysis and different types of surveys, but strengths to me is the most powerful thing that I've done in my career.
So when you first took it, individualization was your number one strength.
Right. That's
you also have learner in your top 5, achiever, activator, and positivity. When you first saw that collection of words, what was going through your mind?
Well, I was surprised by individualization. I just didn't understand what does that mean exactly. Because achiever, activator, I could see that. Positivity, I could see that. Learner, after I read about it, I said, yes, absolutely. I'm always asking questions. I'm always curious. But that was the one that mystified me a little bit. So then I read through the descriptor of it. It became obvious that that absolutely is my top strength. Learning to be able to relate to different types of people. If some people like more in person, I adapt my style to suit sort of how people behave versus having a militaristic approach to treating everybody in exactly the same way. Some people need to be in person, some people are better on the phone, and I sort of adapt my style to the audience that I'm around. And I just do that sort of naturally without even thinking.
Now, after you had seen your top 5, how did you think about your leadership differently? Did you have a coach that worked with you on this? Is it something that you just kind of picked up intuitively? Learners typically, when they get new information, they go as deep as they can on it. What was your experience with it?
Well, for me, I thought about my team because not only did I do Strength Finders, we did a team blend. So that team blend was really fun because you got to see other people's strengths and see how the team sort of behaves together. And one of the things I quickly picked up upon was the activator one, which is a strength, but could also be a derailer in a CEO position, or even initially I was the head of orthopedics prior to being the CEO of Stryker, because activators like to get a lot of things going. And if you get too many things going, frankly, it causes a bit of chaos in your organization. And it sort of reminded me when I was leading a previous organization, how people would try to tell me to slow down and not too many things and stay focused. And so I actually relied on my other teammates to say, listen, you better slow me down sometimes. Or if I'm brainstorming or thinking out loud, maybe it's better just to write it down instead of saying things until I have a thought that's really well formulated, because people will just grab onto things I say because of the position I'm in, and they'll just start launching initiatives, and maybe that's not the best for the organization. So you have to watch out that your strength can actually turn against you if you're not careful.
As someone that leads with individualization, I often wonder if, because people with individualization have this sort of inherent ability to understand the idiosyncrasies of every individual person, what did that mean to you when you actually saw the strengths of people that you knew so well? Did it sort of tell you, oh, I kind of already knew that, now I have words to label these things, or what was that process like?
I would say yes. Because individualization is so high, I really understand people a little bit better than maybe others at first glance, but it enabled me to go deeper and enabled me to make sure that my behavior was consistently lining up, because even because you know something doesn't mean you actually behave that way in a large team dynamic.
Right.
When I'm dealing with people individually, it's automatic, but it helped me with the team dynamic of making sure I would call out certain people who would just not necessarily lean in as quickly, or sort of the activator, tell them just to sort of let this other person talk. We'll get to you. Just sort of wool your horses a little bit. So it just helped me with team management more so than with the individual management, because that sort of happened automatically.
Now,
Powerful thinking. Strike a CEO through his strengths was really able to recognize what he does naturally and where he naturally utilizes that, especially with the individuals. But as a leader with his activator, he also knew that when he got the baton, he could run with it too fast sometimes, too quickly. And also remember picking up batons along the way. And it's that leader having that understanding of themselves, of their blind spots, and having that bravery to say to those team members, hey guys, I know that I can, with the activator, go too quick for some people. As that strategic, it might be that I might be able to see ahead of me or the different pathways, but I may not articulate it and expect you just to jump on the bus with me. So as that leader, it's also having that confidence to share those things with your team. And hey guys, if this happens, tell me to slow down. And it's also being aware of that too and being really authentic to yourself. Okay, case study time. The behind, low morale and communication, where is it? We don't quite know where we are or where we are going. Leader A, 3 of their top 5 is strategic, communication and activator. They are the strategic influencers. That's how they lead. Leader 2, their strengths are relator, harmony and developer. They are the relationship builders. So, as we think about their strengths and with the dilemma above, let's think about these questions in our breakout rooms. Between you, how does each leader's strengths shape or influence their approach? How might they go about it? What are the benefits for their strengths in this approach? And what might they need to be aware of? Lastly, if you have time, how would you go about it? How would you naturally go about that situation as a leader in your teams? Perfect. So leader A, I thought of them as a visionary influencer, and the leader B as the relationship stabilizer. The leader A, they remember all about the clarity, the pace, and the motivation. How they will naturally go about what they do. Getting people on board, letting them see the outcome. Let's get going, and we'll give the clarity along the way, as the strategics just may. The outcome, they are all aligned. They've got the energy, the impetus, the desire to want to get going. What the strategic and the influencers naturally bring in their leadership style. A lot of relationship builders here today, you may recognize this one. In your leadership style, your approach might be trust, connection, and supporting to make sure that they are high in spirits, they're clear of where they need to go, etc. And then your outcome might be confidence, and that morale is improved. And as Alexis mentioned, there's no right or wrong, is there? We can still have the same outcomes. I've been led by 4 different head teachers. They were all very, very different, but they all had something in common. They were all good to outstanding in what they did. But how they did it was unique. It was bespoke to them. So leading others authentically. Dave, you've even touched upon this quite a lot in both of your responses before. It's okay us as leaders knowing our strengths, knowing what we need, what we bring naturally, but it really is about to lead authentically. We need to know our team's strengths. They may not have done a top 34 report, So how are you going to identify your team strengths? What they naturally do best? I would imagine that if I was to go around the room now and I were to have you think about those people, you could name 3 things what they bring to your team quite naturally. That is not informing me of where I can place them more purposefully. Adapt to differences. By doing this, these leaders build safety. When these people fall, they know that they will be caught, not tripped up further. And last one, it's about honouring the natural talents, not just of ourselves, but of the teams that we lead to. If we recognise that we are at our best when we lead with purpose and intent from how we naturally think, feel and do, look out for and enable the team to be able to do the same. A key point here, capacity and one's ability is not strengths. Strengths is not a tool to hide behind. I don't enjoy doing that, so I'm not going to do it. That's competency. But how can we more purposefully use our strengths to enable us in those challenges? And maybe, as Natalie has alluded to, maybe there are opportunities for collaboration too. But it's not a tool for people to shy away from obligations. It's a tool to enable them in those challenges. How can they think or do differently? If I may, I just want to share just this about 1 minute of this clip.
Strengths, as you mentioned, being such a part of the culture, it's in so many conversations throughout the company. I spoke to a few of your colleagues and said even yesterday, strengths was a dominant part of the conversation that they were having with you. How is it that you accomplish that?
Like I say, it started well before me, a long time ago. I think it was Cy Johnson who initially first brought it, one of the large group presidents of Stryker within the med-surg, but it spread throughout the whole company. It's a common language. And so when you have a common language, it unifies people, it gets people talking, and it's very productive. And to me, it's the first time in my career where focusing on strengths is frankly a better use of your energy than trying to focus on people's weaknesses and fix people, so to speak, which is kind of how leadership was taught when I first joined the workforce. It was like identify the weaknesses, but someone's weaknesses will never be their strength. You can get better, you should be aware of your weaknesses, but you'll never be amazing at something that you're weak at. You could become sort of acceptable. You're never going to be great at it. But if you can lean into people's strengths, it's obviously a better use of your energy than spending time on weaknesses. So to me, once I learned about it, it became sort of obvious. I don't know why it wasn't taught 30 years ago so much.
Again, perfectly said. The leader, I can focus on their weaknesses and they might just be able to manage. But those who flourish and fly are the ones that focus on their strengths. Rhetorically asking, are we the leader who knows and looks out for and knows how to purposefully deploy our staff for projects, opportunities where they will thrive and they will flourish? A tool for you going away from today. See me, use me, stretch me. Thinking about, in your mind, think of a team member for me. Now they are there. How do you see them? What are their unique contributions to your team? What can they be relied upon to do, to get done? No one goes to work to do a bad job, I firmly believe. So what is it what they are bringing to your team? How do you see them through their strengths? Next, now that you are thinking about this, how can you now use them more purposefully where they can be at their ultimate best? We talk about job satisfaction, people being, applying their best to their work, going home saying I work for a great company. Those are the ones where they are purposefully deploying their strengths. The last one, stretch me. So what is it? You see what they bring, they are purposefully implementing, but where's the growth? Where's your succession planning? Where is it where you see them in 1 month, 1 year? And what do you need to do as a part of their progress to get them to it using their strengths? A nice simple tool, if we are leading authentically with our team, how do you see them? How do you use them? And how do you stretch them? We haven't got time for this activity, unfortunately. But if we're looking at action planning, and by all means take a photo of the screen as one for you to do later on in your own CPD. But actions for you. One strength I will lean into. What is that strength? I like to put strengths because strengths work in collaboration. So what strengths might I lean into more purposefully? For the ex-PM of New Zealand, she really appreciates her empathy now, and she considered that a weakness. It's not, it's one of her biggest strengths. One team strength to honour. One behaviour to adjust. And one new conversation to have. Can be just a catalyst of something great in your authentic leadership. Thank you, everybody. Just in closing, you lead best when you lead from who you truly are and allow others to do the same.